The gym uniform at Merriweather is sky blue shorts and tie-dyed t-shirts. Fortunately, we did most of our athletic stuff inside, so we didn't have to jog through Tribeca looking like a bunch of boot camp hippie children. I changed as quickly as I could in the locker room because I didn't want to deal with Sloan. I was about to leave when Tyson called. "Percy?" He hadn't changed yet. He was standing by the weight room door, clutching his gym clothes. "Will you, Oh yeah." I tried not to sound aggravated about it. "Yeah, sure, man." Tyson ducked inside the weight room. I'd stood guard outside the door while he changed. I felt kind of awkward doing this, but he asked me to do this most days. I think it's because he's completely hairy and he's got weird scars on his back that I've never had the courage to ask him about. Anyway, I learned the hard way that if people teased Tyson while he was dressing out, he'd get upset and start ripping the doors off lockers. When we got into the gym, Coach Nunley was sitting at his little desk reading Sports Illustrated. Nunley was about 1,000,000 years old, with bifocals and no teeth and a greasy wave of gray hair. He reminded me of the Oracle at Camp Half-Blood, which was a shriveled-up mummy, except Coach Nunley moved a lot less, and he never billowed green smoke. Well, at least not that I observed. Matt Sloan said, "Coach, can I be captain?" "Eh?" Coach Nunley looked up from his magazine. "Yeah," he mumbled. "Mm-hmm." Sloan grinned and took charge of the picking. He made me the other team's captain, but it didn't matter who I picked, because all the jocks and the popular kids moved over to Sloan's side. So did the big group of visitors. On my side, I had Tyson, Corey Baylor, the computer geek, Raj Mandali, the calculus whiz, and a half-dozen other kids who always got harassed by Sloan and his gang. Normally, I would have been okay with just Tyson. He was worth half a team all by himself, but the visitors on Sloan's team were almost as tall and strong-looking as Tyson, and there were 6 of them. Matt Sloan spilled a cage full of balls in the middle of the gym. "Scared," Tyson mumbled. "Smell funny." I looked at him. What smells funny? Because I didn't figure he was talking about himself. "Them," Tyson pointed at Sloan's new friends. "Smell funny." The visitors were cracking their knuckles, eyeing us like it was slaughter time. I couldn't help wondering where they were from. Someplace where they fed kids raw meat and beat them with sticks. Sloan blew the coach's whistle and the game began. Sloan's team ran for the center line. On my side, Raj Mandali yelled something in Urdu, probably. "I have to go potty!" and ran for the exit. Corey Baylor tried to crawl behind the wall mat and hide. The rest of my team did their best to cower in fear and not look like targets. "Tyson," I said, "let's go." A ball slammed into my gut. I sat down hard in the middle of the gym floor. The other team exploded in laughter. My eyesight was fuzzy. I felt like I'd just gotten a Heimlich maneuver from a gorilla. I couldn't believe anybody could throw that hard. Tyson yelled, "Percy, duck!" I rolled as another dodgeball whistled past my ear at the speed of sound. Whoom! It hit the wall mat and Corey Baylor yelped. "Hey," I yelled at Sloan's team, "you could kill somebody." The visitor named Joe Bob grinned at me evilly. Somehow he looked a lot bigger now, even taller than Tyson. His biceps bulged beneath his t-shirt. "I hope so, Percy Jackson. I hope so." The way he said my name sent a chill down my back. Nobody called me Perseus, except those who knew my true identity, friends and enemies. What had Tyson said? They smell funny. Monsters. All around Matt Sloan, the visitors were growing in size. They were no longer kids. They were 8-foot-tall giants with wild eyes, pointy teeth, and hairy arms tattooed with snakes and hula women and Valentine hearts. Matt Sloan dropped his ball. "Whoa, you're not from Detroit. Who?" The other kids on his team started screaming and backing toward the exit, but the giant named Marrowsucker threw a ball with deadly accuracy. It streaked past Raj Mandali just as he was about to leave, and it hit the door, slamming it shut like magic. Raj and some of the other kids banged on it desperately, but it wouldn't budge. "Let them go," I yelled at the giants. The one called Joe Bob growled at me. He had a tattoo on his biceps that said, "JB loves baby cakes." "And lose our tasty morsels? No, son of the sea god. We Lastragonians aren't just playing for your death. We want lunch." He waved his hand and a new batch of dodgeballs appeared on the center line, but these balls weren't made of red rubber. They were bronze, the size of cannonballs, perforated like wiffle balls with fire bubbling out the holes. They must have been searing hot, but the Giants picked them up with their bare hands. Coach! I yelled. Nunley looked up sleepily, but if he saw anything abnormal about the dodgeball game, he didn't let on. That's the problem with mortals. A magical force called the mist obscures the true appearance of monsters and gods from their vision, so mortals tend to see only what they can understand. Maybe the coach saw a few 8th graders pounding the younger kids like usual. Maybe the other kids saw Matt Sloan's thugs getting ready to toss Molotov cocktails around. It wouldn't be the first time. At any rate, I was pretty sure nobody else realized we were dealing with genuine, man-eating, bloodthirsty monsters. Yeah, Coach muttered. Play nice. And he went back to his magazine. The giant named Skull Eater threw his ball. I dove aside as the fiery bronze comet sailed past my shoulder. Corey! I screamed. Tyson pulled him out from behind the exercise mat just as the ball exploded against it, blasting the mat to smoking shreds. Run! I told my teammates. The other exit! They ran for the locker room, but with another wave of Joe Bob's hand, the door slammed shut. No one leaves until you're out, Joe Bob roared. And you're not out until we eat you. He launched his own fireball. My teammates scattered as it blasted a crater in the gym floor. I reached for Riptide, which I always kept in my pocket, but then I realized I was wearing gym shorts. I had no pockets. Riptide was tucked in my jeans inside my gym locker, and the locker room door was sealed. I was completely defenseless. Another fireball came streaking towards me. Tyson pushed me out of the way, but the explosion still blew me head over heels. I found myself sprawled on the gym floor, dazed from the smoke, my tie-dyed t-shirt peppered with sizzling holes. Just across the center line, 2 hungry giants were glaring down at me. Flesh, they bellowed. Hero flesh for lunch. They both took aim. Percy need help, Tyson yelled, and he jumped in front of me just as they threw their balls. Hey, Tyson! I screamed, but it was too late. Both balls slammed into him, but no, he caught them. Somehow Tyson was so clumsy. He knocked over lab equipment and broke playground structures on a regular basis, but he caught 2 fiery metal balls speeding toward him at a zillion miles an hour. He sent them hurtling back towards their surprised owners, who screamed, "Bad!" as the bronze spheres exploded into their chests. The giants disintegrated in twin columns of flame, a sure sign they were monsters, all right. Monsters don't die, they just dissipate into smoke and dust, which saves heroes a lot of trouble cleaning up after a fight. My brothers! Joe Bob the cannibal wailed. He flexed his muscles and his baby cakes tattoo rippled. You will pay for their destruction! Tyson, I said, look out! Another comet hurtled toward us. Tyson just had time to swat it aside. It flew straight over Coach Nunley's head and landed in the bleachers with a huge kaboom. Kids were running around screaming, trying to avoid the sizzling craters in the floor. Others were banging on the door, calling for help. Sloan himself stood petrified in the middle of the court, watching in disbelief as balls of death flew around him. Coach Nunley still wasn't seeing anything. He tapped his hearing aid like the explosions were giving him interference. But he kept his eyes on his magazine. Surely the whole school could hear the noise. The headmaster, the police, somebody would come help us. Victory will be ours, roared Joe Bob the cannibal. We will feast on your bones. I wanted to tell him he was taking the dodgeball game way too seriously, but before I could, he hefted another ball. The other 3 giants followed his lead. I knew we were dead. Tyson couldn't deflect all those balls at once. His hands had to be seriously burned from blocking the first volley. Without my sword, I had a crazy idea. I ran toward the locker room. Move, I told my teammates. Away from the door. Explosions behind me. Tyson had batted 2 of the balls back towards their owners and blasted them to ashes. That left 2 giants still standing. A 3rd ball hurtled straight at me. I forced myself to wait. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, and then dove aside as the fiery sphere demolished the locker room door. Now I figured that the built-up gas in most boys' locker rooms was enough to cause an explosion, so I wasn't surprised when the flaming dodgeball ignited a huge whoom. The wall blew apart, locker doors, socks, athletic supporters, and other various nasty personal belongings rained all over the gym. I turned just in time to see Tyson punch Skull Eater in the face. The giant crumpled, but the last giant, Joe Bob, had wisely held onto his own ball, waiting for an opportunity. He threw just as Tyson was turning to face him. "No!" I yelled. The ball caught Tyson square in the chest. He slid back the length of the court and slammed into the back wall, which cracked and partially crumbled on top of him, making a hole right onto Church Street. I didn't see how Tyson could still be alive, but he only looked dazed. The bronze ball was smoking at his feet. Tyson tried to pick it up, but he fell back, stunned into a pile of cinder blocks.
"Well," Joe Bob gloated, "I'm the last one standing. I'll have enough meat to bring baby cakes a doggy bag."
He picked up another ball and aimed it at Tyson. "Stop," I yelled. "It's me you want." The giant grinned.
"You wish to die first, young hero?"
I had to do something. Riptide had to be around here somewhere. Then I spotted my jeans at a smoking heap of clothes right by the giant's feet. If I could only get there. I knew it was hopeless, but I charged. The giant laughed.
"My lunge approaches."
He raised his arm to throw. I braced myself to dive. Suddenly, the giant's body went rigid. His expression changed from gloating to surprise. Right where his belly button should have been, his t-shirt ripped open, and he grew something like a horn. No, not a horn, the glowing tip of a blade. The ball dropped out of his hand. The monster stared down at the knife that had just run him through from behind. He muttered, "Ow!" and burst into a cloud of green flame, which I figured was going to make Baby Cakes pretty upset. Standing in the smoke was my friend Annabeth. Her face was grimy and scratched. She had a ragged backpack slung over her shoulder, her baseball cap tucked in her pocket, a bronze knife in her hand, and a wild look in her stormy gray eyes, like she'd just been chased 1,000 miles by ghosts. Matt Sloan, who'd been standing there dumbfounded the whole time, finally came to his senses. He blinked at Annabeth as if he dimly recognized her from my notebook picture. "That's the girl! That's the girl!" Annabeth punched him in the nose and knocked him flat. "And you," she told him, "you lay off my friend." The gym was in flames. Kids were running around screaming. I heard sirens wailing and a garbled voice over the intercom. Through the glass windows of the exit doors, I could see the headmaster, Mr. Bonsai, wrestling with the lock, a crowd of teachers piling up behind him. "Annabeth," I stammered, how long have you..." "Pretty much all morning." She sheathed her bronze knife. "I've been trying to find a good time to talk to you, but, you were never alone." The shadow, "I saw it this morning, that was..." My face was hot. "Oh my gods, you were looking in my bedroom window?" "There's no time to explain," she snapped, though she looked a little red-faced herself. "I just didn't want to." "There!" a woman screamed. The doors burst open and the adults came pouring in. "Meet me outside," Annabeth told me. "And him," she pointed to Tyson, who was still sitting dazed against the wall. Annabeth gave him a look of distaste that I didn't quite understand. You better bring him." "What?" "No time," she said. "Hurry." She put on her Yankees baseball cap, which was a magic gift from her mom, and instantly vanished. That left me standing alone in the middle of the burning gymnasium when the headmaster came charging in with half the faculty and a couple of police officers. "Percy Jackson," Mr. Bonsai said. "What? How?" Over by the broken wall, Tyson groaned and stood up from the pile of cinder blocks. "Head hurts." Matt Sloan was coming around too. He focused on me with a look of terror. "Percy did it, Mr. Bonsai. He set the whole building on fire. Coach Nunley will tell you he saw it." Coach Nunley had been dutifully reading his magazine, but just by luck he chose that moment to look up when Sloan said his name. Yeah? Mm-hmm." The other adults turned toward me. I knew they would never believe me, even if I could tell them the truth. I grabbed Riptide out of my ruined jeans, told Tyson, "Come on," and jumped through the gaping hole in the side of the building.